Hey Rockets, I'm back with your science lesson for this week. This week we're talking all about natural disasters. Well, you hear the word disaster in that and you automatically maybe feel a little scared. But these are things that happen naturally in the world and are predictable to a degree by humans. Luckily, we have a lot of information about these natural disasters so that we can learn more and know how to better prepare when they happen. All right, but last week we talked about weather and climate a little bit and how weather are the conditions outside. And so this week we're talking about extreme types of weather. So two that we are talking about this week are tornadoes and hurricanes. Tornadoes and hurricanes are both types of windstorms, so they occur from really fast winds. However, there are some differences and some things that make each of them unique. You may already know a little bit about tornadoes and hurricanes. I want you to pause this video and I want you to maybe make a list, just jot something down on some paper nearby. It could be some scratch paper, the back of something you've already written on, but just make a very quick list the things you know about a tornado. Maybe you could even sketch a quick picture of what you think a tornado looks like. Then, once you've done that, make another column and list all the things you know about hurricanes. Maybe you could sketch a quick picture of a hurricane. Okay, so go ahead and pause this video and do that really quickly. All right, now that you've refreshed your brain on some things you know about tornadoes and hurricanes, I'm going to share my screen with you. And maybe, hopefully today, you will learn a little bit more about how these extreme types of weather happen and some things that we can do to keep safe if they were ever to happen to us. All right. So I'm actually here at the end, so I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning. All right. So I'm going to link this slide for you because there are some activities on this slide that you have to, on this slideshow that you have to complete as well. So just really quickly before I get started, I want to show you if you decide maybe to break this up into 2 different days, that's fine. But these are links that will take you to the very first slide for each topic. So if you are working on your slides about tornadoes, you can click that and it'll take you there. And if you are working on your slides about hurricanes, you can just click this link from the first slide and it'll automatically take you to the slide about hurricanes. All right, so going back, we're going to start with tornadoes because I think this is the one we're all living in Oklahoma the most comfortable with, or we know the most commonly. And there are some important words that I want you to know before we get started. So the first word, tornado, the actual definition for a tornado is a fast spinning column of air that stretches from a thunderstorm cloud to the ground. So these start with thunderstorms. They connect the thunderstorm clouds to the ground, okay? Twister is just another name for a tornado because of the way it twists and turns. A supercell is a thunderstorm with rotating winds that has potential to be a tornado. Now this word, unpredictable, unpredictable. We have this prefix un, which we know means not. So we can say that unpredictable means not predictable or being unable to know what will happen. So if something is unpredictable, we're not really sure what's going to happen. Okay, and so sometimes these types of weather can be unpredictable. A meteorologist, we had that word in my class last week, but it is an expert on weather and climate. And then a storm chaser is someone who follows storms to learn more about them. Okay, keep these words in mind as we go throughout our lesson. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is what is a tornado, what it is, how it forms, how does this even happen? How does a cloud connect from the sky to the ground? All right, so maybe before you watch this video, on that same piece of paper that you were jotting things down on before, you could start to jot down maybe 2 questions that you have about tornadoes, just 2. you have more, that's great. But come up with at least 2 questions that you hope to get answers to today. All right, go ahead and pause this video and write those down now. All right, so here's a quick video to tell you all about tornadoes. Keep your questions in mind. Hopefully they will get answered. All right, here we go.
The weather is a funny thing. One day it can be sunny and warm, perfect day for sunglasses and flip-flops, but the next day it can be cold and rainy. Most of the time, the weather doesn't give us anything that we can't handle, with maybe some sunscreen or an umbrella or a snow shovel. But sometimes, and in some places, there can be extreme weather, like big thunderstorms or hurricanes or snowstorms. And one of the most powerful kinds of extreme weather out there is a type of a storm that scientists pay close attention to: tornadoes. A tornado is a fast-spinning column of air that stretches all the way from a thunderstorm cloud in the sky down to the Earth's surface. Because tornadoes turn and twist as they move, they're sometimes called twisters. They form inside really big thunderstorms when cold, dry air moving from one direction bumps into warm, wet air coming from a different direction. Because the cold air is heavier, it slides down under the warm air and pushes it up really fast. All this fast-moving air rushing up and down can create a sort of spinning thunderstorm, and it can eventually keep going to form a tornado. And when a tornado forms, it can be one of the most powerful forces in nature. Tornado winds are the strongest in the world, even stronger than hurricanes. In some twisters, we know that the wind can blow to almost 500 kilometers an hour, strong enough to lift heavy things like cars and trucks into the air. And they're loud too. People who have seen them or even been in them say they sound like giant roaring trains. But they don't move as fast as a speeding train. Usually tornadoes travel across the land at about 50 kilometers an hour, slower than most cars go. Now, weather can be really unpredictable, which means that you just can't predict or know what's going to happen before it happens. And that's especially true for tornadoes. These windy storms can speed up, slow down, change direction, or even stand still. And they can last anywhere from a few seconds to as long as an hour. While tornadoes can happen all over the world, they're most common in the United States. About 2/3 of all the tornadoes in the world happen right down the middle of the country, from the Dakotas down to Texas, especially in the late spring and early summer. Because tornadoes are so powerful and so unpredictable, meteorologists spend a lot of time studying them. They want to understand more about exactly how and when tornadoes can form, and hopefully predict when they'll show up. There are even people called storm chasers who follow big storms around the middle of the U.S., hoping to spot one as it turns into a tornado, so we can get a better picture of what really happens when a twister forms. Scientists still don't know for sure when a tornado is going to happen, but they have gotten better at predicting which thunderstorms might be strong enough to create one. And if they spot a bad-looking storm early enough, then they can give people who live nearby a warning that a twister might be coming. That's one of the most important jobs that a meteorologist has, helping people get ready for extreme weather. So the more they learn about tornadoes, the better we can prepare for them, and the more they can help us understand how our weather works, even when it's not so extreme. I hope the weather is nice where you are. And if you have any questions for any of us here at the fort about weather, animals, space, or anything, just let us know by leaving a comment or emailing us at kids@thescishow.com.
Okay, so as you can see, tornadoes form. Let me stop my sharing with you for just a second. There we go. Tornadoes can form from cold air and warm air colliding, and then that cold air is heavier, so it pushes the warm air up, and it creates kind of like a spinning vortex. Okay, so now your task, going back to our slideshow. Here we go. Your task is to fill in these blanks. So all of these questions were answered in this video, okay? And these are your options here. So warm, 500, up, cold, stronger, and down. All right, so your first question, tornadoes form when blank air bumps into blank air. Which one could it be? So I'll do this one with you so that you understand how to do this assignment. But you are going to click the word and drag it to the blank. So tornadoes form when warm air bumps into cold air. The cold air slides blank and pushes the warm air blank. So does the cold air slides 500 and pushes the warm air? Does the cold air slide up and push the warm air? Does the cold air slide stronger and push the warm air? Or does the cold air slide down and push the warm air? So you go through and do the rest of these on your own. I'll go ahead and move these back. And then a bonus experiment, which is really fun, you can actually create your own thunderstorm. So you only need a few items from home that a lot of you probably have. All right, so you need a clear plastic container about the size of a shoebox. So maybe just like a clear plastic bin. You just take items out of it if you need to. You need some red food coloring and some ice cubes made with blue food coloring. All right, so you fill the container 2/3 with warm water. Lukewarm just means room temperature. Room temperature water, you let the water sit for a minute, put a blue ice cube at one end, and then add 3 drops of red food coloring to the other end, and then watch what happens. And if you do this activity, I would love to know what happened in your experience and maybe an explanation to go along. Why do you think that happened? Okay. All right, so we are now moving into hurricanes. So hurricanes and tornadoes are similar because they're both windstorms, but they do have some distinct differences. You can look at a picture of a tornado and know that is a tornado. Sometimes a hurricane just looks like a really bad storm. But there are some rules that will help us figure out whether it's a storm, a really bad storm, or a hurricane, okay? So here are some important words to know. A hurricane is a big, powerful storm with speeds over 119 kilometers or 74 miles an hour. So 70 miles per hour is about how fast your car goes on the freeway or the interstate. So that's about how fast a hurricane, or that's how fast a storm has to be traveling for it to be considered a hurricane. Now they can be a lot faster, but that's the minimum. All right, typhoon and cyclones are 2 other names for hurricanes in other parts of the world. So you may hear someone in a different part of the world talk about a cyclone or a typhoon. Just know that's also a hurricane. We just have different names for it. And then the eye of the hurricane is the center of the hurricane where the storm is the most calm. Okay? All right. So here's another video all about how hurricanes happen.
It's summertime where Squeaks and I live, which means we've had a lot of thunderstorms lately. Summer thunderstorms usually have rain, thunder, and lightning, and sometimes strong, gusty winds. Sometimes the power even goes out. Good thing Squeaks and I have a flashlight just in case. But some areas of the world experience a really extreme kind of storm. A hurricane. Hurricanes are big, powerful storms that have strong winds, and I mean strong. In order to be considered a hurricane, a storm's winds have to be blowing faster than 119 kilometers an hour. That's faster than a car zooming down the highway. Sometimes you'll also hear this kind of storm called a cyclone or a typhoon, but they're all just different names for the same thing. From space, many hurricanes look like this. Big, swirling.
Okay, I'm going to pause it just for a second because I want to show you this right here. That's the eye. You'll notice it kind of looks like an eye. So that's the calmest part of the hurricane. And it's right in the center. All right.
Storms that have a really cool shape. That's right, Squeaks. This hurricane looks a little bit like a circle. The clouds wind around a space in the center of the hurricane, called the eye. It even sort of looks like an eyeball. Now, a hurricane shape is pretty cool, but it's not the only thing that's special about this kind of storm. Everything has to be just right for a hurricane to form. It's kind of like a puzzle. The first piece of the hurricane puzzle is warm ocean water. The water has to be at least 27 degrees Celsius, or about as warm as a swimming pool, for a hurricane to form. The warm water causes the air above it to warm up and rise high into the sky. The warm air is very humid, which means that there's a lot of water in it. As the air rises into the sky, other air rushes in to take its place. The air that rushes in gets warm and humid too, and then it rises high into the sky as well. As the air rises, it cools, and clouds start to form. Lots of them. High in the sky is also where we find the second thing that's important for making a hurricane: wind. And not just any wind. The wind that helps make a hurricane has to be calm and steady. It can't be the kind of wind that blows really hard for a moment or two and then calms down again. If there are sudden gusts like that, the storm can get blown apart, kind of like how a candle gets blown out. But if there's warm, damp air along with those steady winds, and it stays like that for a few days, the rest of the pieces that make up a hurricane fall into place. The steady winds push the growing storm over the ocean, and the warm water gives the storm energy. It causes more air to rise, more clouds to form, and the winds inside the hurricane become stronger. In fact, the only place that is not very windy is in the hurricane's eye. It's actually very calm in the eye, even though it's right in the middle of the storm. As it grows, the hurricane also starts to turn. It spins around with the eye in the center, kind of like a top. As long as hurricanes have that warm air for fuel, they can keep going and keep growing. But when they reach land or pass over cooler water, they lose their warm air, so they start to fall apart. Hurricanes usually leave behind a lot of rain though. Sometimes the rain can last for days. They also can push a lot of ocean water onto the shore, which can cause a lot of floods. But people can prepare for hurricanes, especially if they know when they're going to happen. For example, most hurricanes near North America happen between May and November every year, because that's when the different pieces that make a hurricane fit together the best. And scientists have lots of tools to try and track hurricanes. They use what they know about science to make really good guesses about where they'll pop up, where they'll go, how big they'll be, and how long they'll last. And if you live or go on vacation in a place where hurricanes might happen, you can be prepared too. You can talk with grown-ups about what you can do if a hurricane happens. That might mean bringing in things from outside to protect them from strong winds. Or it might mean helping to prepare a kit with food, water, flashlights, and a radio. Speaking of flashlights, I know mine can use some new batteries. Come on, Squeaks, let's go to the store to get some new ones. Thanks for joining us on SciShow Kids. If you want to keep learning and having fun with Squeaks and me, you can...
Okay, so that's how hurricanes form. Again, we have some common things from tornadoes. We've got warm air, cool air, wind, and let me stop sharing. There we go. Some warm air, cold air, wind, and it travels as well. Like a tornado travels, a hurricane can travel as well. However, a hurricane is much faster than a tornado. All right. Okay. All right, so you've got the same task again. Oh, let me actually show you in this view so that you can see the words to fill in the blanks. A hurricane needs blank air and blank wind to form. All right, warm air gives the storm. Hurricanes begin to get weaker as they pass over. There's two things that weaken hurricanes. So fill in those blanks with those two different things. Most hurricanes happen between the months of, so these are going to be your months that we consider it hurricane season. Now, because Oklahoma is not super close to the ocean, we don't really get hurricanes. I think that I looked it up and it's very, very, very rare. However, we can get remnant storms from hurricanes sometimes. So sometimes we might get some rain that was formerly a hurricane, but it's weakened by the time it gets to Oklahoma. Because remember, as the storm passes over land, it continues to grow weaker and weaker. All right, so I've got an experiment for you. This one is also really easy, but this will help you see where the winds are the strongest in a hurricane and where they are the calmest. Now, you may also already know from this video where the winds are the calmest in the hurricane, but do you know where they're the strongest? So if you click this link, it'll take you to a website. All right, and you scroll down. All right, stir, so you need, here we go. So here is some information for you to read first. This is kind of going to review. Okay, I thought it would tell you where, but here we go. Stir the water in a 2-liter bowl using a large wooden spoon. So you need a big bowl filled with water. You need a large spoon to stir it. Dip a paper clip that's attached to a string in different places in the spinning water. So as the water is spinning, you've got that kind of vortex going on. Dip the paper clip attached to the string in there and watch it. See where the paper clip is spinning the fastest. So try it in the middle, try it on the outside, try it in the middle, try it on the left side, on the right side, try it all over, and just see where the paper clip is rotating the fastest. And that'll tell you where the storm is the strongest, okay? And then I've got another task for you. Okay, we can actually do this one together. So we're going to use this Venn diagram to compare tornadoes, hurricanes, and both, okay? Because it's really important to know how they're the same and how they're different. All right, so one forms over land. Do you remember which one that is? Tornadoes, that's right. Tornadoes form over land, and hurricanes form over water. So hurricanes need that water and the steady wind to form. They form over water, and then once they move to land, that's when they start to weaken. All right, are tornadoes dangerous, hurricanes dangerous, or both? Both, that is correct. Both are dangerous. All right, need warm air. Is that tornadoes, hurricanes, or both? Both need warm air, that's right. All right, can last a long time. Which one is that? Both. Both can last a long time. Studied by meteorologists. Both again. All right, happen all over the world. That one is tricky because it is both. However, remember that most tornadoes, 75% of tornadoes happen in the United States. So that's almost all of them, but not quite. And hurricanes can happen all over the world. Remember, there's even names in other parts of the world for hurricanes, like cyclones and typhoons, right? And then mostly happen in the United States. Is that tornadoes or hurricanes or both? That is tornadoes. Tornadoes mostly happen in the United States. All right, I'm gonna move this one up so you can see. Maybe I'll do this. There you go. All right, and now you have a game you can play. This game may not work on all devices, but it's pretty fun, and it was pretty hard for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you. Let me see. There we go. All right, so this game is called Create a Cane. Create a cane. And you're going to try to create ideal conditions for a hurricane by changing all the different features. So winds, latitude, moisture, and the sea temperature, okay? We're gonna try to get our score up to 80. That's gonna be the strength that we want our hurricane. All right, so it looks like this, and these are all your different things that you can change. If you need help, you can click the question marks, and I'm going to start with this because when I first played this game, I didn't notice this right here, but you need to change the direction of the wind. So north, northeast. I'm going to have south blowing winds, and then you can also change the strength. So direction and speed. And then you've got upper level, mid-level, and low level. I'm not going to tell you what they need to be because I want you to investigate for yourself. But if you need help, you can always click the question mark. All right, the atmospheric layers. So these are the layers of air. You've got your lower layer, your middle layer, and your upper layer. The upper layer can be dry or moist. So that one you don't change, but you're just going to change these two. Let's say we want medium and moist. Oh, look, my score went up to 5. Okay, but I'm trying to get to 80, so I still got a long way to go. Then you've got your latitude range. You can move your storm to the north or to the south. It's a little bit warmer in the south, so I'm going to move my storm south and look, my scores. Oh, I went too south maybe, so now it's going down. So I'm going to put it back here at 25. And then the sea temperature. Okay, I know that it needs warm water, so I'm going to warm up my water. This is in Celsius. Okay, so we talked about that last week, but we want our water to be pretty warm, and it's going up again. So you can play this and see if you can get your storm up to 80, okay? And then think about what factors you had to change to get that storm to be so strong. All right, that's all I have for you. If you are interested in learning about other types of natural disasters besides tornadoes and hurricanes, there are lots more. There are volcanoes, earthquakes, tsunamis, all different types of natural disasters that happen all over the world. And sometimes they can be really interesting to learn about because then we know a little bit more about them and we don't have to be as afraid as we would without knowing anything. So it's good to learn. But if you would like to learn more about other types of natural disasters, I will link another article with this slideshow, with this assignment, so that you can read more on your own. Okay? Thank you so much for watching. You have been doing a great job with this distance learning, and I'm really proud of all your hard work. Bye.